pain pills or whatever it is all your life. But one day, you're not going to wake up. So if you have this gene, you better not get nitrous oxide or take pain pills or get anesthesia. They have to give you special anesthesia if you have this without knowing, because you might be the one that doesn't wake up. And you'll have no warning. Just one day, the light flips, the switch flips, and that's it.
What other symptoms would you
There aren't any
have?
symptoms.
None.
Well, there are some symptoms.
You just have to know your gene.
If you have herpes or any virus, and people don't, they're all the same. If it's an RNA retrovirus, any virus, doesn't matter which one, they're all the same. If you have cervical dysplasia, if you have human papillomavirus, if you get cold sores, if you get ulcers, if you have deteriorating gums, then you have viruses. If you have demyelination problems, we all have them. We all have them.
Yeah, that's what I was
But
trying to say.
if you take arginine and it makes you feel bad, you very likely have this problem. People that have this cannot do arginine and feel good. I mean, I don't know that if you have a very mild problem with this, if you can take arginine and feel good, I don't know. I'm just telling you, better be careful.
If you have herpes and you're prone to herpes and you take the arginine, it breaks people out.
That's right. Well, that's this gene.
It'll break them out.
But see, you can have it. A lot of people. Well, I'm gonna wait till I get to my list. We'll talk about those things in a minute. Let's go to stick. Someone's try to stay focused. Okay, the next one, SHMT. SHMT. This one helps methylation. Towards building new DNA synthesis and away from processing of homocysteine to methionine, whatever that means. That's a problem with some people. I don't know what the symptoms are, but I'm sure it has to do with high homocysteine. What?
Helps them build DNA?
Yeah. Okay. That's the major ones that we know about today. There are more, but I just got the ones that give the most problems that I could talk a little bit about,
That with the NOS, because people sometimes have to undergo anesthesia, it's unavoidable. Can they take supplements that will counteract?
I have no idea. I have that though. And from what I understand, you have to tell the doctor. I would never do any other anesthesia. If I have another heart attack, I'm never going to have surgery. I don't want it.
No surgery.
I don't want it. But if you're the one that does want it, I think that if you tell the doctors that you have this gene, they can give you something else that doesn't go through that pathway.
Oh, okay. So that
But it's
anesthesiologist.
important.
How do you know if you have it?
You have
Get
to
the
get genetic
test.
testing.
Get the test.
Or you can have a clue that you might have it if you can't do arginine. Okay?
With good genetic testing, you can see what part of the world your ancestors come from?
Yeah.
Is there any way you can combine those two things, or do different companies do those two?
Well,
In other words, when you get this done through your...
if you go to 23andMe, you get everything. They give you your ancestry. In fact, I found out you guys know how how assertive I can be, right? Y'all see me do that. I found out that I'm a direct descendant of Napoleon. I go, oh my God, I see that in me.
That's funny.
Yeah, okay, that's enough of that. Here's
How did
this.
you do that? Did they
And
have
it just came through on that.
To get your
did
blood
they have
drawn?
the genes of
No,
Napoleon?
it's a saliva.
Saliva.
You just
Did they
go
give it to
online,
you?
pay $100. They send you a saliva kit in the mail, and you said you don't have to go anywhere. But when you get your test back and go, what the hell is this? Then you need to call me, and I'll tell you where to get it. Get the information to what I'm telling you.
Yes.
Now, while I'm talking about this, I'm going to pass around this document right here. Here's a genetic test. This happens to be one of my clients. Here is the roadmap, as Amy calls it, the simplified roadmap. The detailed roadmap to go with this is 82 pages, and I'm sorry, but I'm not going to print it out. But So you get this, you'll take your gene sequence, put it through Genetic Genie, or Genetic Genie gives you this. Amy's will give you something like this and a nutritional program. Okay? So here, there's a simplified protocol. She calls it the shortcut. And there's the long cut where you do long-term thing. You do simplified for right now to get you feeling better. Then you do the long-term down the road. But it takes literally years to do it. Like 4 to 5 years. So if y'all want to take a look at this, here you go.
Great.
Robin, you ought to pass it around to them because you can see it at my house anytime
Okay.
you want. And I'm going to pass some other things. Here is some interesting, I wanted y'all to know, you can, when you find out your gene sequence, let's say most of us in here are probably going to have MTHF, one of these things that I gave you.
Sure.
So y'all are going to have it. So when you have, I've given you the symptoms that kind of go along with each one. So what you do is you take that list and you'll say CVS. And Google every symptom you have. If you have fatigue, you have fatigue. If you have, and I mean subtle things. Has your vision changed? Do you have a ringing in your ear? Do you have low back pain? Did your foot hurt? You know, we're going to go over symptoms in a minute. So when we go over these symptoms and you figure out which ones you have, then you take those gene snippets that I gave you and then Google your symptoms and find out the information. That's how you find out how to heal yourself, what nutrient. Most of them have to do with B vitamins. Just a few things. I mean, most of them are going to be B vitamins. I mean B12, folate in the form of 5-MTHFF, P5P, riboflavin, active forms of these things. Because these cheap forms, you're wasting your money, you're actually doing yourself harm.
Mm-hmm.
Fatty acids, phosphatidylcholine's a big one. But when I say phosphatidylcholine, I don't, and I'm sorry, but I don't mean run to your health food store and get some phosphatidylcholine. There's only 3 brands in the country that does what I'm about to tell you. And it will amaze you what I'm about to tell you.
Have you any experience with E3 Live, which is made from the blue-green algae from Klamath Lake? Because it has a lot of B vitamins, and I'm wondering if somebody took a lot of that, if then it would mellow
The
out.
only way you're going to know that is to do what I'm going to tell you in a few minutes. You know, there are multiple ways to get to the same destination. Whether it's going to work on you or your specific client, you don't know and they don't know. You will have to do these things that I'm going to show you to know if it really works.
Tell us about the phosphatidylcholine. So,
There are only 3 brands in the entire country that does what I'm about to tell you. When I had my heart attack, I didn't know what to do because I wasn't going to have surgery, and I kind of had to make a decision. I've been talking to everybody, all you people, all the people on my radio show for years telling you to do things. Well, it's in front of my face. I have to decide right now, am I going to walk my talk and be who I've been telling all these people to do, or am I going to succumb to allopathic medicine? After all these lectures I've been telling people. And I decided, you know what, I have to be what I've been telling people. Or else who the hell am I? You know? So I called down on my radio show and said, anybody in the world that's doing something cutting edge with early detection and prevention inflammatory diseases, please send me your white papers. So I got inundated with these white papers, and I read them all in a hospital bed. And so this one woman, Patricia Kane, Kane, was one of the people that contacted me. And her expertise is fatty acids. And what she's done is she started giving people this pharmaceutical grade phosphatidylcholine. She actually did it IV. It's very hard to get.
Wow.
And I'll tell you like this. I got it from Switzerland. I was doing it here in a doctor's office. And the FDA somehow got the shipping papers at the entrance to this country.
Yep.
Got my papers. I couldn't believe it. How'd they even know it? Then I went and looked on my stat counter. They watched me. I could see them on my stat counter. They raided my doctor's office with my shipping papers in their hand. So she stopped doing it. It's not illegal. but it's causing amazing things to happen. And one of the things that it does, if you have a heart attack, for example, it can be other things too, Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis. If you have a heart attack, though, and that doctor says, oh, this part of your heart is dead. Well, it's not really dead. It's asleep. And you do this phosphatidylcholine a minimum of 3 tablespoons a day. Those cells in your heart, within 10 days, will start beating again, and they'll beat in sequence with the rest of the cells in your heart. But as soon as you stop doing the phosphatidylcholine, they'll stop. Over a period of maybe 5 years, they may come back by themselves if you do this every day. And you do a couple of other things. CoQ10, some carnitine. But carnitine's a methyl donor, so you got to be careful if you're sensitive methyl donors. D-ribose and magnesium. You do those 4 things, you won't be huffing and puffing. Could happen overnight.
D-ribose and what?
D-ribose, a teaspoon 3 times a day. You have to pay attention to insulin and diabetes if you have blood sugar issues, how it makes you feel. You got to check your blood sugar. So D-ribose, carnitine, 25 to 3,500.
Wait a minute.
Is that carnitine fumarate? Is that the?
Well, you know, that's a good question. Most people use, you know, if one helps your brain, one helps your heart. So if you could get a good blend, it's a good thing. But for heart, it's more acetyl. But it, you know, if you could get there are some people that have good blends of those things. So D-ribose, carnitine, magnesium.
Magnesium
Any
orotate?
special kind of magnesium?
Yeah.
I personally use citrate. I use a couple of them. And some people dispute one of the kinds that I use, but there's a reason that we do it. I use a CalMag butyrate, and the magnesium is, I forget the form, but it's Body Bio.
Yeah.
You can find it on, it's bodybio.com. That's Patricia's company. But I also use magnesium citrate. I like that. And if you have constipation, then you also add in some carbonate at bedtime. And so I do 5 CalMag butyrates, and I do 2 magnesium glycinates. Do these 2 combinations twice a day. If I need it, I add in a carbonate at night to help keep the constipation. Because if you have MTHR, you're likely to have constipation. But the glycinate, because some people say, oh, that's toxic, somebody told me the other day. But it's also a sugar, you know, and when you've had a heart attack, that heart needs that energy. So there's a reason, kind of. But you just have to, I'm going to tell you in a minute the way to find out what's best for you.
Okay, phosphatidylcholine, the special brand, 3
CoQ10.
tablespoons.
And it's expensive.
Yeah.
Ribose,
It's
magnesium.
my cost on it is $140 a bottle for 16 ounces. But it's worth it. She had a man that had Alzheimer's so bad he was locked into an assisted living center and couldn't get out. He couldn't do anything, didn't know anybody.
How old
He's
is
living
he?
on his own now.
Wow.
Doesn't matter how old
With
he
the
is.
phosphatidylcholine?
Doesn't matter how old he is. So if you go to bodybio.com and go through Patricia Kane's information, he was old though, informations. She's got a lot of articles. There's some videos, and we're going to talk in a minute about heavy metal detoxing and the videos she has. So y'all just watch all of her stuff about vision, about cleaning out plaque in your kidneys and your arteries and your gallbladder. I mean, she's got some amazing stuff.
Now you said there's 3 brands of the phosphatidylcholine.
One of them is Body Bio.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember the other brand, but if you go to Patricia Kane, if you find Edward Kane, Kane, on YouTube, and you'll find him by saying Ed Kane and mercury detoxification. There's some videos, 3 or 4 of them, and watch those. Ed that's her husband. He'll tell you which ones. But her product, she's got a lab called Body Bio, and her product's one of them. Okay. Let's see. Where was I leaving off? Oh, anyway. Here's an article on CBS. I was telling y'all, when you find out your genetics, when we do go through this list, this will give you an idea of what you're looking for. You find stuff like this on each snippet so that you'll know how to find your problem. But this will give you an idea how much one snippet can impact your life. I'm getting hot in here.
Yeah, it is
Mine
hot.
too.
It seems hot.
I'm gonna pass out
Let me
soon.
have, Sam, turn it down.
That's really interesting.
Okay. The next.
I have a friend who studied chemistry, taught chemistry, and she's working with a Dr. Hinks, who works with neurotransmitters, and serotonin and dopamine, and helping some people. And so I'm wanting her to have been here. So, and what I'm wondering is how I can share this with her. Should I just have her call
Well, it's gonna,
send her to your
if
the
she
website,
wants to
tell her
hear-
about these two people?
you know what I have found because of gradients in consciousness, when you have a person that's doing the research on a particular area, like Gottfried Kellerman is probably one of the forefathers in neurotransmitter work.
Who?
Gottfried Kellerman. He's old and he's retired, but he owns Neurosciences. That's his company. You know, people who do an independent or specific area, they're not usually open-minded enough to look. They think they have the answer. And neurotransmitters are key, but they're right here, and what I'm telling you is up here.
Mm-hmm.
They're right here in the duality. What I'm telling you is the non-dual state. You know?
I got it. It's really true. I mean,
Yeah.
even I feel that.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
good.
she may not want to hear it. You know, and she won't want to hear it probably because that's telling you that her work is
Yeah.
not the best, and
Yeah.
she don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I don't know her who she
well,
is. but-
hints. I mean,
whoever
hints
it
will be
is.
the one.
Yeah,
No, she'd be open to it, but the guy she's studying with wouldn't.
Wouldn't.
yeah.
And she already knows
Because
that.
he doesn't want to hear that there's something.
No,
lacking in
beyond
his
his
area.
daughter's company.
Yeah. So now, one thing that I do once you find out what nutrients that you need for your snippet, how do you know if you're getting better? That's what I'm going to tell you now. Amy, I'm so fortunate, is my friend, and she helps me. We run tests on me every 6 months, and she does it for me. So
Subsidizes.
these are her notes and her tests on these. I'm going to pass them around. These are just two. This one's dated October 2013, and this one's dated June 2014. This particular one is a toxic metals from a hair analysis. And what this tells you basically is this top part here is the metals and how much you're excreting. This bottom one is levels, basically, if I understand correctly. Okay, it's just how much is there. So they're even though they look the same, they're telling you two different things. You want them to excrete if you have too much. Okay, so you can look at these two different tests. After I did my this is 6 months apart. I've been doing this since, well, Amy did my first test probably in 2003, but I didn't get really serious until the heart attack, unfortunately. But you can see how the diet affects and the nutrients affects your labs here. So I'll put whoever wants to see them can take a look at that.
Yeah.
Let's see. The next one is, after I started getting better, and the problems that I had chronic fatigue, I had fibromyalgia, I ached and hurt all the time. I don't know if y'all remember, but I used to be a pencil. I was a runway model. I was a pencil. And then I got lots of weight, and I developed this huge hump on my back.
Huh.
You know, this kind? It was heavy metals.
Wow, really?
And as these things come out, you couldn't even see, you know how your spine dips in here? My spine didn't dent in. It was flat across here. So now my spine's coming back. I can see my spine now. So when you see people like that and have these fat pads right here, you can know that your client, or whoever it is full of heavy metals. That's what it is. And adrenal insufficiency. So if they have heavy metals that's so full on their back that it's puffing their back out and they're hunched that they can't stand up straight, know that they're in pain, but also that they're getting ready for an event. If they're doing this, if they're full of metals here, their arteries and their heart and their brain and their organs are full of metals. So After that started getting better, then I just couldn't quite get my gut right. I blowed out and hurt every time I eat something. And then people that have pain right here, how many people have pain here in their low back? You need folate, and you need probably B12. But people will say, oh, that's your kidneys. It's probably not your kidneys. I mean, people that have these snippets do have, their kidneys are taxed because you got a lot of toxins and metals. But know that if you hurt here, it is likely viruses built up to the side of your spine and in your colon. Okay, and I'm going to show you some things in a minute how you'll know what I'm talking about. So it hurts. It's heat. It's metals. It's viruses. As those things come out, believe it or not, this pain goes away. So, but I couldn't quite get my gut right. So I called up Amy and I was like, Amy, I just can't get my gut right.
Do you eat wheat?
No.
Oh, good.
I eat only organic. I eat only grass-fed beef. I eat only chickens that peck bugs.
And rice?
I don't eat any grains.
Yeah, no
Right.
grains.
No
Good
grains.
idea.
I may eat a tiny tad of brown rice or wild rice.
I get congested.
But what?
I can get congested from
Mhm.
rice.
Yeah.
You got more things than you know. You these snippets, you research them and put that, you will find it. Okay? Because it's more. What is an allergy? It's a methylation problem.
Inability to break it down.
So, anybody ever had a sneezing fit where you suddenly sneeze 15, 20 times out of nowhere? Your gene is flipping. That's in the MTHFR set. And so that's telling you something. That's telling you something. You need to get on the B vitamins, and you're not detoxing and eliminating right. I do an enema every day. I do all these things that I'm telling y'all, the B vitamins, the phosphatidylcholine. I mean, you have no idea. I drink
Coffee?
water like I'm supposed to do. I do ozone. I do everything.
Do you do coffee enemas or
Yes,
just
every day.
coffee?
And sometimes I add the phosphatidylcholine into the enema. Sometimes if I feel particularly inflamed, I'll add some some bicarb with potassium in it. And I do all kinds of things, but know that it works. If you have that though, you're not detoxifying. You need glutathione, and you're not eliminating. But you have to be really careful then about doing just glutathione because it's also a methyl donor. So you got to try to do your homework. Learn everything you can before you go. And when I talk about how important folate is, God's sake, don't go to the store tomorrow and buy folate and start taking it. Or you might be sorry. And you might think you're dying, actually. You'll be in more pain. You may be. It depends on your snippets. Folate opens the door to let the virus. If you methyl trap, then you've been trapping all these viruses for years. And in a minute we're going to show you how to know. When you take that folate, man, the door opens. Without B12 to carry it out, you're going to be sick. You ever heard of the Hertzheimer reaction?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're going to have. And ask me how I know how sick you can be. I thought I was dying. Really, I did.
I don't mean to rush you, but you better hurry and tell us how. Well, Sam tells us all.
And there's three kinds of, the different types of bees.
You just
Wow.
look up forms and genetics.
Well, you
Because
were going to tell us
Well,
where
I
to
can't
find
find the
best.
paper. I think it's in that thing going around with Amy Yatsko's stuff in there.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't find it.
So
Okay.
just Google what? Genetic B12.
Just Google MTHFR forms of B12 or genetics and forms of B12 and figure out which one's best. Okay, here's the test we did for gut that Amy sent me. She told me exactly what microbes were in my gut, exactly which ones had too much, which ones had too little, which ones were good and which ones were bad. So it told me, so I knew what kind of probiotic that I needed, because everybody doesn't need the same probiotics. And I knew what kind of herbs that I needed to pick up, attack the things that I don't want there. So this will give you an idea of what that is. And then this one over here is more about digestion. What do I need to make my pancreatin, bile, what do I need? So there are things you can do. Otherwise, you're guessing and wasting a lot of money down the drain, and you get hopeless thinking that nothing works when really you're just doing the wrong thing.
You think you ought to tell them about lupus?
No,
Classic.
this is not time for that.
What about standard process? They're made of whole foods, but I think that all of them.
What is important with genes is where you got to remember methyl donors. Is it a methyl donor or is it a methyl sponge?
Wow.
Niacin is a sponge. B12 and folate are donors. MSM is a donor. And milk thistle is a donor. You got to figure out, do you need donors or sponges? Because if you do the wrong thing, you're going to feel bad. And there are different kinds of donors. One thing donates methyl groups here, one thing donates methyl groups over here, so you got to do your homework. It's complicated.
Somebody
Wow.
will make it more clear and create charts.
Amy Yaxco is the person.
Ooh.
Now there's another person, Bill Walsh, who's a chemical engineer, and I think his book's Nutrient Therapy. He's very good. He's got a little bit of different perspective. He's more focused on, anyway, they're just a little bit different.
WALZ.
SH. He's great though. So what you have to do, since but Amy's the person that I found that knows the most. I don't care what anybody says. I've interviewed her 10 times. She's my friend. I pick her brain. I've interviewed all the other people, and she seems to know the most. Okay? So, no matter who you look at, she seems to know the most. Now, the next thing is the back.
Okay, now Eva, can she just prescribe for you if you don't want to?
She is a PhD.
I don't mean that. I mean, can she just tell you, take this, take that, you need to methylize this way, you need to...
She will me, but she doesn't see patients.
She will not tell you. You've
She'll
got to,
tell me.
yeah, she won't tell us.
No, she
You
won't
have to
tell you.
figure it out yourself.
But
You're on your own.
she is prolific about putting her information on the internet. She's got several books, and she's got a huge blog and a great site. You'll find what you're looking for if you just look hard.
And this is hers too, what you just, the digestion.
She did that. Yeah, she did that for me. Okay, but she's very adamant about putting her information out there free so people can have it. Okay, the next thing. This is my VAP test. VAP test is a cholesterol test that is the cutting edge on early detection and prevention of heart disease. And it doesn't just tell you cholesterol, and I want y'all to see this. Here's a regular LabCorp test, and here's the VAP test. I'm going to pass it around in a minute. But what I want you to know first before we do that is, you know how you always listen to somebody saying this is good for you or that's good for you, and you just go do it? Well, somebody one time told me that ghee was good for me.
That what was?
Ghee.
Ghee?
So I did it. And it almost killed me. I mean, it sounded good. The Indians do it. You know, it sounded good. It made sense to me. It was logical. But it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
So, before the ghee, well, let me get my test here. 12, 14, 7, 14, here, this way. Okay. Before the ghee, my labs were very good. After the ghee, can you see the red?
Wow.
I was about to have a heart attack or a
Jeez.
stroke and didn't know it.
Wow.
My total cholesterol is 290. It needs to be below 200. My triglycerides were 486, and they need to be below 150.
How long had you been eating it?
A month?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. My total LDL was 201. It needs to be under 130. My LDL was 177. It needed to be under 100. And one of the most important things was my particle size was a type B size, which means that it was like BBs and would get lodged into my arterial walls and cause strokes and heart attacks. It needs to be an A, okay? So my LPA cholesterol was good. Thank God. If my LPA cholesterol had not been good, And if I'd have had a high C-reactive protein right here, I'd be dead. Thank God my C-reactive protein was only 0.9. I would be dead. Now, so when and this was just by chance, yes.
You weren't eating any sugar or high carbohydrate diet during that time? Yeah. 'Cause usually
He
that's
was
what-
the only thing I did. Had a perfect diet almost. So, and so I just happened, I called these people up and said, let's do a radio interview. Let's run your tests on me and we'll talk about my tests. And I thought that I was going to have this great, when I got this back, I almost fainted. I had no idea. I lucked into this. So,
And when, how much, did you do another one in a month after
I'm
you
about
stopped
to
the
tell you.
D? Oh.
So this was dated April 18th. I did another one on July the 25th. And I did all the things that I was supposed to do. Did the phosphatidylcholine. I increased I used calamari oil, squid oil, not fish oil. I upped that from 3 to 6. My next test in July, my cholesterol had gone from, I'm not going to go into all the numbers, y'all just have to believe me, had gone from high to moderate. My triglycerides had decreased by half. And my particle size had gone from a B to an AB. So I'm on my way. By December, just doing what I'm telling. So in other words, I went from very high risk, walking around about to die, to being somewhat safe to very safe. By December, everything's under control. My cholesterol's high, but my ratios are perfect. And my particle size went to an A. The big fluffy cotton ball size that won't give you a heart attack or kill you. So, only thing I did was stop the ghee, bump up my squid oil to 6 grams a day, and continue my diet otherwise. So, if y'all would like to see this, so you can see why you need a VAP that's $40 instead of a LabCorp test, this is why. If I had not gotten a VAP this day, I'd never known this, and I'd probably be dead.
Just so people know, there's more and more companies doing essentially that VAP. VAP is trademark name vertical
But
assessment.
this is the best
profile.
one. I've looked at all of them.
Yeah, but they all measure the buoyancy, the particle size.
This is
That
the
was
best.
the first. Yeah,
This
that was
is the
first.
best one.
Yeah.
I've looked at them all. Berkeley, Hart, I've looked at them all.
Eva, this is really, I gave a talk on metabolic types, that there's 12 different types. You cannot just hear something and take that supplement.
That's exactly right.
It does not work. It could be like the fast oxidizers shouldn't take the B vitamins. And you hear how good they are. You've got to
That's
have B6,
exactly
you've
right.
got to have B6, you've got to have this, you've got to have that. Don't listen, because just like you're saying, it could be deadly. It could be so
That's exactly
wrong
right.
for your body,
That's
for
exactly
who you
right.
are. This is
the
a great...
fast oxidizers, the slow oxidizers, by the way, are going to be those of us that are tired
Or do what? Say it
and
again.
have gray hair. That's a slow oxidation thing.
What
You
was
were
the first thing you said? Something, I missed it.
slow oxidizers.
Tired.
Oh,
Tired.
tired. And have degenerative diseases and inflammatory diseases. You're going to be low in biotins and PABAs and things that you can't get rid of free radicals with. The fast oxidizers are going to be the ones more like ABV. Gonna be those. So that's kind of how you can fit in. Now, and before we go over the symptoms, I want to show you one other thing. This is the way that my friend Patricia came, and she designed this system, said that, and I don't know, I'm just sharing information, okay? I'm repeating what she says, that this is the only real way to know what minerals you need. Because when you do a mineral test, or any of these tests that I've given you, they're the best that we have, but still, how do we know if they're the levels in the blood or the levels inside the cell? Who knows? What
Because
you
of our diet in
really-
America, everybody's low in minerals,
Right.
across the board.
So here's how
Everybody.
we're talking about toxicities and how to push and pull minerals out, how to get them out.
Oh, like heavy metals too.
Yes, exactly.
Like too much zinc.
right.
So, and we could spend 2 hours on this topic, but I'm just going to give you the rundown. This is the system that she's designed. Each one of these is a mineral. This particular one happens to be selenium. And so what you would do, and there's videos on her site where you can go and watch this and understand it, but it's a great way for you to teach your clients or do for your clients. You put a few drops of it, a drop of this in a small cup of water, and you taste it. And you swish it around your mouth. If it tastes sweet, you need it. If it tastes pleasant, you really need it if it's sweet, because your body wants it. If it tastes pleasant, you somewhat need it. If it has no taste, then you probably don't need it. If it's like, I taste something, but then you probably don't need it. You're probably okay. If it tastes so-so and you don't really like it, then you're toxic in that a little bit. If you really don't like it, you're pretty toxic in it. If you hate it, you're like really toxic in it. So you don't do the ones that you don't like, and you do the ones that you do like, and you keep up with it on a little form, and that way you can see, you do it every week, or a couple of times a week if you want, but it gives you an accurate picture of how you're changing. And we have, what it has in here, just so you know, potassium, zinc, magnesium, copper, chromium, manganese, molybdenum, and selenium. And you would not believe, if you haven't already studied it, what each one of these minerals do for your enzymes in the methylation cycles. That one document will tell you a lot of things, but for instance, I'm like, Amy, suddenly I can't do all this B12 anymore. And she was like, you know what, don't you? Lithium is the transport, maybe, how are your, I don't know what to tell you until we see what your lithium levels. So there's just lots of little bitty things like that that you never know. Some people that have COMT can't do P5P. So even though the doctors say, oh, this is the right one, some people can't do it. I don't know why, but they just can't. So you have to really study methylations for
What do you
each
think about,
person.
when you talk about minerals, what do you think about the colloids? Minerals.
Well, that's a whole other topic, what I think about minerals. I mean, I think that there's multiple roads to the same destination. You do what works for you. But I like, maybe that's what it is. I don't know what it is.
I'm not clear about the natural vitamins. Do they concentrate foods?
What?
When you talked about artificial vitamins, how do you know? You said there were 3 brands that are good.
Oh,
How do we know when we're
no,
getting?
I said 3 types of phosphatidylcholine.
Okay, I would like to know how they make vitamins from food, not chemicals.
Only thing I can tell you is to do what I do.
What
When
do
I
you
want to
do?
buy a supplement, I call their medical director and ask him the questions. Because who the hell knows?
So what supplements are you buying? You were going to
Bring it-
share
bring it to
3
a close,
brands, I thought.
Okay.
She didn't quite finish.
And we got one more.
Whenever you, bring it, wherever you've got a good stopping point.
What?
She's gonna say
I got
something
simple.
there.
Robin, did you?
She's gonna
What
tell
do
What
us
is
something.
it? Huh?
What do you use for a natural folate?
5-MTHF. 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate. I would not do more than 1 microgram to start out with until you see how you're going to feel. And when I would definitely not do any more than 4 until you
Micrograms?
know how you're going to feel, because it will kick your ass if you're not the right person.
Where do you get it?
Anyway, it helps you.
There's a Methyl Pro produces that. It's very
But
expensive.
I will tell you this, there's only one out, it's gotta be L. If it's not, then it's not real methylfolate. It's a mirror image of it. And it won't do the same thing.
5-MTHF,
It's gotta be L5-MTHF.
L5-TM, yeah.
And they don't tell you that, they just put 5-MTHF, so you don't know, so you have to call and ask.
And you say 1 microgram, start with 1,
Yeah.
if you can.
Microgram now, not milligrams.
Micrograms, right.
Okay, now the last thing, let's go over this thing quickly. I'll just tell you since Sal's me close. If you have any of these symptoms, any of them, I don't have them separated by undermethylating or overmethylating, but you have a methylation problem if you have any of these things. I'll let you read it for your own, but I do want to tell you a few things. People, everybody stand up. Let's do one quick thing. You can sit down, Sam.
No, he's
No,
getting
I'll
up.
get up. Al's fine.
Now, I don't want you to change anything. That when I'm going to tell you to do something, when I tell you to do it, I want you to see the first flash of where you have this feeling. Where do you have the most weight on your foot? Where is it? What part of your foot? And you have to be honest with yourself. Okay, you need B12. That's a classic. When older people get older and they start falling, you're anemic. And the reason
Mine
is
is on this part.
Did he say
What
heels?
does
Is
that
that what
mean?
he said?
Yeah, I'm a
That's
heel.
another
Let's
Huh?
get my heels.
so. When older people, you better get on some B12 because that's how you
I'm
fall.
gonna give you B12.
When you walk down steps or somewhere and it's in the bathtub and wet, and you have your weights back here. What's happened? There you go, and break a hip. That's a B12 issue. How many people, when you're going through a doorway, do this? Or you turn in your car and you're constantly hitting the curb with your wheels?
Had that happen. It stopped.
It's B12. If you've had it, it will go there again. It's just the early symptoms. You're starting to get there. Don't wait till it runs out.
I'm taking some B12 from now, and I'm wondering
That's all we can say. What?
how good is B12 from now? A liquid, a red one, the tablets under the tongue.
Go give blood. If you're anemic, you're not using B12 right. That's
No, I'm taking B12, and I wanted to know which type of B12 you think is best.
I told you. You have to look at your genetics and
Oh,
see
yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
one
Which
that
one
you need
fits.
based on your genetics.
Yeah,
Because
got
it's
it.
you can the methylated's the best. Okay, it's the creme de la creme.
Right,
But if you can't methylate right, then you're going to go.
right. Okay, got it.
It's not fun.
Okay.
So you got
That's
to
an easy
figure out.
way to tell.
Yeah. How do you
Take it.
feel?
Yeah,
That's
I
how
feel
you know.
fine.
How do you feel? Any subtle symptoms. This is another important thing. I want everybody, I can't see in here, but does anybody see these little white dots on my neck? Can you see those couple of white dots? I think they're two. Somewhere over there. I don't know where, but somewhere.
Maybe they're
Like
going
white
away.
dots in skin.
Just little white specks.
See it?
Okay, you see this?
Yes.
That's a big one.
Let's see.
Right there. Yeah. See that?
Yeah,
You
white.
see-
Yeah. I've had this.
Here's one right here. Right,
Yeah.
See that right there? Just a little white dot.
Uh-huh.
Here's one right there.
Yeah, there's one. That's a real one.
You know what that means?
What is that?
Did everybody see that?
Yes.
Everybody see the white dots?
Yes.
That is demyelination of the nerve sheath, and it means that we get Alzheimer's if we don't fix it.
Whoa, cool.
Or muscular.
And what will fix it?
All this
All this
complicated
thing I'm
stuff.
telling you.
Yeah.
Complicated.
It's really not complicated, but it sounds complicated. The best thing you can do, if you can't do anything, Amy Yatsko and Patricia both have a very good multivitamin that has everything in it. Just take one a day. If you can't do anything else. But the best things is get that folate going, get those good fatty acids going, get your D going, detoxification, elimination, those are important. Get it out. But if you're not getting it out and it's sitting in the colon and the colon swells up and it spreads apart and it's leaking through, you got leaky gut. That's the key. Your gut is everything.
Yeah,
That's
everything.
Everything.
It's your brain.
So you fix your gut, and it's a good start for the rest. But folate, you're not going to get rid of any toxins or any. Did you know that folate, active folate, will cure human papillomavirus?
Where do you find
If you have cervical dysplasia and human papilloma, it's because you're low in folate.
where do you find a good folate?
In health food store.
Well, that's
Just got to get the right kind.
what I'm asking. What's the right
Test.
time?
Test every time. every time you pick it up, Tess.
It's really good.
But just get L5-MTHF. That's the act. But you can be sick, so you gotta go slow. Okay? I guess that's enough for today. I mean, we can come
When
back.
can you come back?
Come back, come back.
Whenever you want me to. Wednesday, I have to tell you, I volunteer